Hello everyone, so welcome back to Dilip IT Academy and my name is Dilip Singh. So as part of our microservices and Spring Boot sessions, so far we completed all important components, especially we are using in our day-to-day real-time application development is like API gateway as well as service registry, service discovery, and we completed config server implementation as well as config clients implementation, right? So now in today's topic, we are going to see the most important topic which we are going to work on every day as part of our microservices application, which we used to call it as microservices communication. So that means whenever we segregated our application into smaller services, nothing but microservices, so that means we have to make sure somehow one microservice is talking to another microservice based on the requirement point of view, or whenever we want to execute a functionality of another microservice from different microservices, right? So this is what we are going to call it as microservices communication. So now this microservices communication is categorized again into two categories. One is synchronized communication and second one is asynchronized communication. So that means we know what is a synchronization, what is asynchronization, right? So synchronization point of view, it's all about whenever client sent a request, until and unless the request got completed, that means the request execution completed and receiving the response, we cannot initiate another request from the same client, right? That is what we are going to consider it as a synchronous. That means one request another after another request. So when it comes to asynchronous communication, what will happen? The client will send simultaneous requests, but it will never wait for the responses to trigger other requests, right? So that is what about asynchronous communication. So as part of this session, especially first and foremost, we are focusing on synchronized communication. That means how we are achieving, especially how we are enabling API calls in between one microservice to another microservice, and how it is a simplified process given by the Spring Cloud framework, nothing but Spring Cloud Feign clients. So how we are implementing the Feign clients, or what is the concept of OpenFeign clients? So how we are achieving the easy way of microservices communication as part of our Spring Cloud architecture point of view, we are going to see in this session. Along with that, we are going to see the difference between RestTemplate usage as well as Feign client with respect to interview perspective point of view. Also, we are going to see all the information as a hands-on session in this session right away. And let's get into the session right away and let's start getting the real-time knowledge right away. So we know that, right? What is the generally microservices architecture point of view, what we are doing? Categorizing into microservices. That means small application, every functionality as a individual application. Like that, we are creating multiple applications, small applications, but overall it is a single application only. For example, we take an Amazon rail e-commerce application, right? So assume like that. So Amazon e-commerce application. Overall, it is the Amazon e-commerce application. But in this case, what we did with respect to microservices architecture, we made user service, and similarly we made order services, notification services, order, payment, etc. Assume we divided into a lot of microservices based on our architecture, based on our requirement point of. Okay, cool. So now if you're thinking in a way like as an individual Spring Boot application, so application 1, application 2, application 3, application 4, application 5, like that. Generally, when we understood, okay, a concept in our previous Spring Boot sessions called as, so related to REST services point of view, see, here all our microservices, backend microservices, we are going to implement all functionalities as APIs, like create user, create product, add product, delete product, update product, create order, cancel order, return order. Like that, we will create a lot of APIs in each and every microservice point of. So here, when we discussed about API implementation, we discussed 2 points. One is producer application as well as consumer application. So these two details we discussed in our Spring Boot sessions earlier, right? So what is the meaning of producer application? Who are providing the APIs? So whichever the application is providing the API, that is called as producer application. And whatever the consuming means calling APIs. Which application is calling APIs of other application, that is called as consumer application. So sometimes we know that same application will act as a producer, same application will act as a consumer also. So like that, we discussed all the details in our Spring Boot REST APIs point of view. So at that time, whenever I have an application A, okay, application 1, application 2. So I have an APIs here, REST APIs. So this is one of the application, B application, and this is A application. So what we did, guys, to access this API, so what we did, that means this is what we are making communication. A application establishing or enabling communication started communicating with B application. So how it is making communication? Simple. Just thing is calling the REST services. Nothing but consuming or calling REST services. That's all. So whatever the functionalities I want from the B application from by A, simply I am calling those respective REST services. So how we achieved this? By using REST template class. So Spring Boot provided for consuming REST services, we understood one important class from the Spring framework called as a REST template class. So by using REST template, we enable the communication. We started integrating the REST services. We are consuming. So see, I can use anything: consuming, calling, establishing, communicating, okay, integrating, all this terminology related to same functionality. A application consuming B services. A application communicating with B application. A application integrated with B application. A application calling B application. So terminology wise, okay, different terminology. But overall agenda here it is just you are enabling, you are just making whenever A application want B functionality, simply it is making a API call. So it will what we used to call in general, it's all about APIs calls. So you are just making a call of B application, then B application will process it and B application will provide you response back. So to achieve all this functionality, what we understood earlier is REST template class. Yes. Now here also assume whenever, okay, right now we have 3 microservices in our workspace, right? Instead of all this. Okay, for example, assume like this. Whenever order got created, something order, okay, make a call to payment. So whenever final order is happening, so I want to make initiate a payment. So then I want to see what are the payment options this microservice is supporting. I want to see, right? Generally, when you open the Amazon or Flipkart, all these things in the home page, so in the payment option level, you will see credit card, debit card, like what payment options they are supporting, like that. I want to see that. So that means in this case, my requirement is from the order microservice, I want to get payment options supported by payment microservice. Simple thing is, this is my requirement. So from the order microservice, I would like to get all the payment options which are supported by the payment microservice. Now let's go back to our payment microservice. So if you see here, we are already implemented REST service, right? For example, we implemented one of the REST service. Okay, let me do one thing. I'm starting all our microservices also. See, first config server should be started, guys. The reason is why yesterday we integrated all our config clients with the config server, right? So that's why config server should be integrated. See, now I'm starting service registry and then I'll start order service, payment service, user service. Even order is started on 2 instances, user is started on 3 instances. So now if you go to the payment controller, for example, this is the REST service I would like to call from order microservice. So this code right now existed in which microservice? Payment microservice with this API. Now what is my point here? It is this API call should happen. Okay, any API, not only this. For example, I'm taking this right. So now I would like to call this API from the order microservice. Generally, what we will do, guys, whenever we want to make a call, what we will do, we will create a REST template object. We will create it. So, right? Simply, we are creating a REST template object equal to new REST template. Like that, we will create the object from the order microservice. So, where we will do this code change? In the order microservice. In the order microservice, we will create it and we know that we have predefined methods, RestTemplate dot get mapping, right? So yeah, get for entity, like that, our exchange method we have, right? So we discussed all these things at that time. Exchange method. So by using this exchange method and all, what you will do, you will pass that respective URL. So you will pass the URL of payment microservice, right? And then you will pass HTTP method, get method it is, and what is the response it is providing, list, like that. You are going to provide by using REST template functionality in this case. So what is the URL in this case? It's all about localhost. So what is the payment port number? Payment microservice you are calling, right? Producer is in this case payment 8003 slash. What is the context path we taken for this? Is payment slash options, right? So if you go here, yeah, payment options, something like that. Okay, here we have to give service ID because we integrated what API registry with the gateway application, right? That's the reason. Payment service. And we made it as, we enabled it as lowercase also from our previous examples. See, now you got all these options. So that means this is the URL now. So what is this? This is the URL you have to make always. So this is the URL you have to make call. So in this case, you will pass this URL and you are simply order microservice calling the payment microservice. Same our Spring Boot knowledge only. So that means, yes, similarly tomorrow, if our user microservice would like to call customer care REST service, yes, simply get the URL of customer care, what API you would like to call, create a REST template object and call it. So by using REST template, how to call it and all we understood in our Spring Boot tutorial itself or in our Spring Boot sessions itself. So, but we have a lot of challenges with respect to REST template. So it is completely involving the port numbers, host names, and everything in this case. Okay, let me implement quickly via REST template point of view first. So what I will do, I'll go to the order microservice. See, microservices communication is nothing but that is what guides. Just like enabling communication is nothing but just consuming the REST services of other microservices. So simply based on requirement point of view, now what I am doing from the order microservice, I'm calling the payment microservice APIs. So this is called as microservice communication. So tomorrow payment microservice may call some other microservice. Our user microservice is calling our product microservice APIs. So that means microservice communication. Nothing but calling other microservices APIs from different microservices APIs from the different microservices is called as communication based on the requirement point of view. So let me quickly implement from the order microservice. Let's go to order microservice now. Yeah, this is order microservice. I'm taking so order controller. So from the order point of view, what I will do is at the rate get mapping, something like I taken slash payment option, something like that. See, this is test URL. I'm just creating in the payment order microservice. See, the code change I'm doing in the order microservice. And then public list get payment options. So this, you know that guys, that's why I'm not discussing much here. So just refer this Spring Boot REST API implementation and consuming, then you will understand. So what I will do here, it is return. We don't have any service class, right? Let me create a order service class. Auto create class order service class I'm creating at the rate service. Fine. Then here return order service dot get all payment options. Okay, so just from this service layer, what I'm doing, see, I'm making changes in the order. Why? You know that code changes will happen at consumer level. When producer is already ready with the API. Now, consumer application side, always code changes will happen. So in this case, order is the consumer. Order is the consumer. Payment is the producer. So that means code changes completely always 100% on the consumer side. So that's why we are making here. Now what we are doing guys here to get all these payment options, we are making call to payment microservice. payment service. We are making a REST API call to payment microservice. From where? From the order microservice. This code changes you are doing in the order microservice. So, but you would like to call now payment microservice. Generally, what we used to do. So we will take like string URL. URL equal to, we already have URL, right? So what is that URL string? String URL equal to, so let's take the URL, working URL. So this is the gateway URL we will use. So fine. And then, so now let's create REST template object. REST template object we are creating equal to new REST template. So, and then we are calling REST template dot exchange method we can take. And URL, yes, I can pass URL. Second one is HTTP method. So URL, yes, I already have. Second one is HTTP method. Yes, it is what, which method? Get method, right? So it is what method? Get method. So this no. So that's why what I will do, HTTP method dot get. And then the third one is what generally we are passing is, yeah, I'll take from here, string URL method. Do we have any request to body in this case? No. So that's why I can pass it as null. And do we have any responses? Yes, we will have response. So in this case, what is the response? It is giving list type. If you see here, what it is, list of values, list of string values. So that's why list dot class. Exchange method will always return response entity. So it will provide always response entity with respect to list. So you're getting response entity. So now here response entity dot get body. So that whenever you get the body, what you will get list of strings. The thing is, I'm achieving REST microservices communication here via REST template pointer. But we have some challenges in the REST template. So to overcome these challenges, Spring Boot provided one more easy technique, okay, or easy library. We will see that. We will come back to that. So first, let's go with REST template, what we know. So now let me call this. So let's see here. What I will do is I'll go to payment microservice. I'm not doing any code change. Simply, I'm just checking, do I already have any logger statement or sysout or not? Okay, so something I already have it, right? Yeah, fine. So now let's go to the order microservice once again. Yeah, now what I'm doing in this case, overall scenario, I'm making call to this microservice. Okay, I'm triggering this endpoint, but internally what it is doing, it is internally again calling the payment microservice. So that means in this case, order microservice is making call to the payment microservice. Is it successfully triggering or not? Let's see here. What is the approach we taken is REST template order. So in the order level, we created all the REST template, all this thing, and we are calling finally payment microservice. Okay, let me send the request now. So where is the order? Not this one. I'll create a new HTTP get and then order service slash order controller level. What is that? Slash payment slash options. So context path is slash order for order microservice. And then the endpoint is this one. Okay, so this is the endpoint I just created from order microservice perspective. See, this is order microservice. This is what, guys, service ID with respect to gateway point of view we given, right? So now let's send the request. See, you got the response. You got the response. But actually, this response came from where, guys? You sent request to which microservice? Order microservice from the postman. You sent it to order microservice. But this response came from where? Payment microservice. So if you go to the payment microservice, clear the console. Let me send the request one more time. See, you are able to establish communication from order to payment microservice. And you can see here, the request reached to where, guys? If you observe here, request for payment options. So that means from here, what's happening internally? The REST template made a call to payment microservice. So this is how we completed lot of examples in our Spring Boot framework point of view earlier. Same, that's what I told you. Microservices is all about an architecture. Coding wise, everything is Spring Boot only. So simply tomorrow, whenever you want to call one microservice to another microservice APIs, Now, for example, here /care is an API is there. /care something like mail or whatever it is, some mail, whatever it is. Then what you will do? Simply you will get URL of this care application. So for example, assume full URL is like this: localhost colon something, some port number I'll take like 8888. Yeah, gateway port number all I'll take, and then /care-service is the service ID, and then /care is the care/mail. So this is the URL. What you will do? Simply you will take this URL. I mean, based on this API response type and all, what is the JSON objects and all, you will create, and you will use the REST template. You will use the REST template object in this case also, and you will call it, and you will make a call from any microservice. So simply you will create a REST template object here, and via REST template object, you will call this URL and you will pass what HTTP method, what is the response type, like whatever the details we discussed earlier, same point of view will do here. In case if it is having any HTTP headers, you will create HTTP headers object, and then you will create HTTP entity object. If you are having any body also, you will do all these things. You will do all these things via REST template. So REST template point of view. So that means what is the first approach we chosen, guys? So to achieve the microservices communication, see, this is the biggest interview question also. Okay, last two weeks back also, one of the student got this question: how we are achieving microservices communication? So one way is via REST template. So by using REST template class or instance, whatever it is. So by using REST template, you are just making a call from one microservice to another microservice. But the problem here it is, this is called as imperative programming. So that means you are providing all the information here, URL, which HTTP method, and what is the request body, is it have or not, what is the response type. You are providing all the information as part of REST template. So that's the reason Spring Boot team or Spring Cloud framework provided simplified concept to enable microservices communication. So they simplified this process and they given a concept called as Feign clients concept. So that means second approach is, in this case, first approach is by using REST template class, you can enable the microservices communication. Second approach is you can use Feign clients concept, and by using Feign clients also, you are going to enable communication between one microservice to another microservice. So this is called as declarative approach. So generally, what is the meaning of declarative is, so you will simply declare it instead of explaining, rather than what's happening internally, providing step by step and all. Simply you will declare it, REST framework will take care. Simply you will declare it like, okay, just do this. That's all. But how to do that, what to do that, what has to pass internally, what has to be done and all, framework will take care of that. But in this case, REST template is not like that. You only provided everything. You provided URL, you provided, something, all the information we provided here in a programmatical point of view by creating REST template object. We did everything here. We provided URL and everything. But here, it's just called as declarative approach with respect to Feign client point of view. So the second approach, second way to achieve the microservices communication, we have the second approach called as Feign clients. So what is a Feign clients? When you will go for Feign clients and how it is works, let's try to understand here it is. So now the point here it is, Feign clients are web clients to make API communication. Feign clients we can integrate with service discovery internally. So that means what is the meaning of service discovery again here? We discussed service registry and service discovery, right? So if you go to our service registry examples, earlier what we completed, service registry and discovery point of view, what we discussed, we know that, right? How service registry will work, how service discovery will work. See, in this case, this is what I'm trying to say. Now user microservice is having total 3 instances. So that means whenever I can make a call via Feign client's point of view, internally it will utilize this discovery features also, service discovery features. That means it will verify which instance is ready, which instance is having less load. Simple thing is Feign client is having a capability of integrating with the service discovery. So we can easily integrate Feign clients. Feign clients are going to work with service discovery internally. That is what, because It is implemented by whom? Spring Cloud only as part of microservices communication. Internally, Fin clients works with load balancing also. By using Fin clients, we can achieve load balancing also. So let's see how it is. It's a very simple process, guys. Now you will understand. So when comparing with REST template, Fin clients, how simple it is, let's try to implement it. So let's start implementing via Fin clients what you have to do. Same scenario, I'll take one more time, like order microservice calling the payment microservice, right? Same thing I'll implement. Okay, with respect to order calling payment microservice. Earlier we did via REST template. Now via Fin client's point of view, we will do that. What I will do is, let's go to the controller. I'll write via Fin clients this time, right? So this is via REST template. Okay, that is also one of the good solutions. But now understand how you are implementing via Fin client, second approach point of view. So which is the best? We will decide after this. Now, what Fin clients is saying in this case is, step number one, the implementation point of view. Consumer application. That means in this case, who is the consumer? Order microservice. Consumer application should be enabled with Fin client's functionality. So how to enable Spring Cloud functionality? Fin client functionalities means we have to add nothing but we have to add a starter. So let's go here. So now in this case, order payment point of view, right now in the current moment, which is consumer, order is the consumer, right? So the code changes we are making at order side means order is the consumer. Okay, let's make a change in the order microservice. Go back here, order microservice, REST, Spring, add status. See, these are all already provided, predefined by Spring Cloud only. You don't need to do anything. Just go here. Yeah, this one, cloud routing. So request routing point of view, it will come, right? So open Fin client. Open Fin client. So this is what we have to take. So what is that? Open Fin. So the starter name from the API point of view, what it is Open Fin. Just see here. Declarative REST client OpenFeign creates a dynamic implementation of the interface decorated with JAX RS and all. See, simple thing is what these guys are saying. REST client. REST client is nothing but calling REST services, like similar to REST template. This is also one of the declarative like that. Okay, so OpenFeign you have to add. Next, select the pom.xml file, finish it. Now go back and say what dependency is added. See, this is Fin client. So this dependency you have to add. Where? In the consumer microservice. Now next, step number 2, what we have to do. So here onwards, the programming will start. Consuming API services will start. Second step is we have to add an annotation called as @enable Fin clients or something is there. Spring Boot application class level. Go to the order microservice. So here you have to add enable Fin clients. So what is that annotation? Enable Fin clients. So you will understand what is this scans for interfaces and all. You will understand. So this is the one annotation you have to do. Now what is the next step we have to do is third step. So these are the common steps, 2 steps. Now here onwards, what you have to do is, so how Fin clients will work, let's try to understand. The point here it is create Fin client interface. So that means in this case, Fin client's point of view, it's not like however you did in the REST template point of view. Okay, wherever you are calling a REST service, simply there you are creating REST template object and you are calling exchange method. No, it's not like that. So you are doing via programmatical point of view. But here you are taking an interface. Okay, we are going to take an interface. Via interface point of view, I'll explain you guys. Once we implemented the logic, then again I will explain you internally how things are happening. So what you have to do is Fin client interface means simple point of view, which microservice APIs we are calling, okay, which microservice APIs we are calling for that respective microservice. For that, understand this point very carefully. This is the only important point in this case. For that specific microservice, we have to create an individual Fin client interface. I'll explain you this. What is the point of this one? So that means what I mentioned here right now is which microservice APIs we are calling. For that specific microservice point of view, we have to create an individual Fin client interface. So let's see how to do that. So that means right now my requirement point of view, order microservice making the call to payment microservice. So payment is having lot of APIs. Payment is having, assume, lot of APIs. Now order microservice is calling almost, assume, 4 API calls. We taken an example for one only, but overall application point of view, 4 APIs, whether it is 1 or 2, 10, 15, whatever it is, 4 APIs of payment microservice. Assume same order microservice is making a call to one more microservice, delivery microservice. So delivery microservice is also having lot of APIs already implemented. In this case, order microservice is making a call to delivery microservice also. So assume maybe 6 APIs it is calling, 6 APIs it is calling of delivery point of view, delivery microservice. So that means now in this case, order is the acting as consumer. Understand the point, guys. Payment as well as delivery microservices are acting as producers. So that means you know that whenever we are calling REST services of other applications, changes will always happen in the consumer level. So that means now in the order microservice level, how many fin clients I have to create? In case if I am going with an approach called as fin clients, not with REST template, so how many fin clients I have to create? 2. Why? The reason is, in this case, 2 individual microservice, payment is one of the microservice, delivery is one more microservice. So I'm going to create a fin client, one interface, one for payment microservice. Similarly, one more for delivery microservice. Like that, you are going to create multiple fin client interfaces for every producer application point of view. Assume tomorrow order is making call to some other microservice. Then you will create one more fin client for that one also. Now assume products is the microservice calling the order microservice. So that means in this specific scenario, order acting as a producer in this specific requirement point of view. Products is acting as a consumer. Why? Yes, obviously, right? Products is calling REST services of order microservice. So that means now in this case where I have to create the fin client, obviously code change is always in the consumer side. So that means I have to create one fin client interface in products application, in product microservice, in product microservice. Why? Because right now it is calling order microservice, and this fin client belongs to order. Tomorrow assume products is calling one more microservice, then you will create one more fin clients. So that means what is the point I would like to make here? It is for every microservice point of view, the number of APIs, how many you are calling, it doesn't matter. Whether you are calling one API, 10 APIs from a specific microservice, you have to create a single, first of all, a fin client interface. So how to create it? Let's see here. So let's go back to our, what is this? Order microservice, right? Yeah, for example, our point of view, order microservice we taken, right? Now what I will do is, I'll take a new package. See, don't miss the base package. This is the thumb rule you know from earlier onwards, right? What I'm doing is, I'm just taking, see, package name you can take anything, but meaningfully I taken CLI, fin client, something like that. I taken a package. Now see, it's a concentration on the interface point of view. Let's create an interface. So in this case, I'm calling payment microservices, right? Payment microservice APIs, whatever it is, like that. You can create payment microservice fin client, like that. You can give meaningful name. So what is this? I created as of now only basic interface. It's a regular Java interface. Now how can I make sure this interface as a fin client interface means you have an annotation called as fin client. That's all. Now this is called as fin client interface. See, this is the interface I'm converting as a fin client interface. That means you are adding an annotation called as fin client interface. Annotation for interfaces declaring the trust client as like that. So let's add this. So that means once you created an annotation and the moment you added an annotation called as fin client annotation, it will become as a, when we added fin client annotation on top on interface, so that will be considered as fin client. See, once you have done this example, then you will feel very easy. We will do that. I'll take 2-3 examples in this case. REST template I taken only one intentionally because we covered a lot of examples. Almost we discussed 3-4 classes. with respect to REST template point of view in our previous sessions. That's why I did not discuss much. So with this, what you are done, just you created an interface and you made an interface called as Feign. So with this, is it done means? No. Actually, this Feign created for which microservice, guys? From our, okay, let's go here. It's better to go from the service registry point of view. It's better to take from here. So if you see here, this is one microservice, this is the microservice, this is the microservice, right? Now, order microservice is making call the payment microservice. So that means in this case, which microservice we are calling? Payment microservice. So here you have to provide, okay, let me add that step in the fourth step point of view. Now, please provide microservice, that means producer microservice ID. Producer microservice ID inside @FinClient annotation as a value. You have to provide producer microservice ID. From our example, what we decided, order is the consumer, payment is the producer, right? So now what you have to do is, let's take this interface once again. Now go to the coding also. Here, what I am providing is producer microservice ID. What is the microservice ID, producer microservice ID? We know that, right? It is simply payment service. Okay, in this case, you can provide lowercase. Okay, only service registry point of view, always uppercase, but remaining point of view, always microservice ID is lowercase now. So payment hyphen, this is the microservice ID. So what? You added producer microservice ID. So that's what I said earlier. Now assume tomorrow from the order you are calling one more microservice, then you will create one more interface. Something like notification microservice, something like that. Notification Feign like that. You will create one more interface. And then what you will do, you will add Feign annotation @Feign, and you will provide here that respective microservice ID, something like notification hyphen service. Like that, you will provide microservice ID in this case also. Microservice ID in this. So that means this is how you are going to create multiple Feigns specific to a microservice point of view. Okay, cool. Now, okay, let's complete first of all this one. So with this, fourth step you done, right? Now, fifth one, what you have to do is create an abstract method inside interface. That means above interface. So, okay, that method method return type should be similar to response of API call. So that method return type should be similar or compatible with response of API call. So that means what it is saying, guys, here you have to create a method, in this case abstract method only, but that method, first point is that method return type should be compatible with response of the API call what you are trying to see. In this case, which API you are doing, guys? Generally, you are calling this one, right? Payment options. You are calling payment options one, right? Yeah. So this is the response you are getting. So what is the response in this case? List of string values. So that means list of string values. So okay, fine. And then something like get. You can take any method name. Method name is anything is fine. Get payment options like that. As well as I'll give one more point. One more point in this case is if that API is having request body, in case if that API is having request body, define same as method argument. So in case if that API is having request body, define define compatible. While I'm writing the code, it looks very difficult, but I'll show you shortcut. Then you will say like simple. Intentionally I'm elaborating, but I'll show you shortcut. Instead of doing all this nonsense, you will do within 1 minute everything. I'll show you that shortcut. If that API is having request body, define compatible Java class as a method argument. So that means in this case, is it having any body means? No. So that means I don't need to define any method parameter, method argument in this case. Okay, cool. This is also now second point. What you have to do is define an endpoint URL of API in the format of request mapping annotation. So that means what you have to do is go to this here. Here you have to define @request mapping. And here, what is the HTTP method, guys? Method equal to HTTP method. What is the HTTP method? Get to method, right? So this URL you're calling. Generally, what is the method? Get method. So that is what you are defining here. It is get, comma. What is the path What is the path you are taking in this case? Path equal to slash payment. This is the one, right? Payment slash options. Payment slash options. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, you can use shortcut annotations also. You know that, right? Get mapping, all these things point of view. So you can use, then you can remove this, then it will become as a get mapping. Shortcut annotation, you know that. And you can take path also. Path, value, whatever it is. These are all details. Okay, let me keep that one only. No problem. You can replace later with shortcut. Now what you are trying to do here, it is the same endpoint, whatever really defined in the payment class level, payment API level, you are using that endpoint here and you are defining what is the HTTP method get. And like that you define here. So now what you have to do is call this fin client, auto-override this fin client, and call this method wherever you want from the order microservice. So what you're, see now with this, once you are done with these things, your fin client is ready. Now what you have to do, go to the order controller, same only, I'll do one thing. Okay, let's take no problem. So get mapping payment option slash v2 version 2, something like that. I taken some different v2, whatever it is, version 2 point of view. But this time get all payment options v2 version 2. Okay, something like new version point of view. Create this method in the service class. See, now see here, we are implementing this time via fin client, not REST template. So from the order microservice, what I am doing right now, I would like to call this REST service only ultimately, but this time not via REST template. I am calling via fin client. So in this scenario, you don't need URL. You don't need URL. Simply what you have to do is the next step. Okay, inject the fin client. Inject is nothing but auto-override, right? Dependency injection, nothing but programming point of view auto-override. So inject the fin client in your service classes and call respective method. So that means what it was trying to say is now you created a fin client, right? So just auto-override it, that fin client. So here what you have to do, auto-override of what fin client. So fin client means you created an interface, right? Microservice, payment microservice fin client. So payment microservice fin client. So this is the interface we created. And here we created a method. See, this time you are not depending on any URL format, something like that. You're not taking localhost 8888. No, you're not taking anything. And what it was saying is right now is once you define in auto-override, call respective method. So which method is responsible from this interface for calling that respective API, getting all payment options? We already defined a method, right? Which is dealing with the payment options from this payment microservice. See, here you define payment microservice ID, and here you define endpoint, and here you define what HTTP method also. So you provided all the information under the fin client. So that means order microservice making call to the payment microservice. Under the payment microservice, inside the payment microservice, it is making call to this endpoint for which is having HTTP method as get. And it is not passing any body. That means this endpoint doesn't have any body. And it is expecting always response in the list format. Expecting means yes, it is providing already list. That's why you provided list here. So like that, you are declared all the information as an interface and abstract method. Rest will take care internally. Just call this method now. So just to see here, yeah, this is the method, right? So there is no request body. Okay, let me pass written here. See what you are done. You are not done anything, not REST template object, you are not created anything. Simply you auto-override that and you called it. So let's see whether it is working or not. Save all changes. I think order microservice is already having dev tools concept. Let's call the endpoint now. What is the endpoint? This time we created slash v2, right? Which is related to that one. Go to order microservice, order service. Yeah, this is the one slash v2. See, we are triggering from the order service only slash v2. Yeah, see here now our v2 is working. That means what? Right now, okay, so I'll do one thing. If you want, I can add one more line. Sysout making call via pin clients. Okay, let me restart once again. It's already restarting. Okay, so let's send the request once again. You got the response, right? But see here, making call via pin client. So that means what happened, guys, this time Internally, Spring Cloud is taking care of everything. Spring Cloud is taking care of API communication from see, now order microservice communicated with the payment microservice. So who did in this case? FinClient. FinClient implement FinClient via FinClient we achieved it. So now understand which looks a easy solution when comparing with RestTemplate and as well as FinClient point of view. Definitely FinClient. It is making very easy. Now you may feel like, no sir, I felt somewhat difficult in this case especially, right? Now let's see here. I'll give you one shortcut what you have to do. So now my requirement is like this. Second requirement is call an API call an API of payment microservice. See the point, okay? Payment microservice and the API is, let's go to the payment controller once. Do we have any other APIs? Yeah, this one, right? Net banking request body, you have everything, right? So let's call this API. That is what my intention is. So let's call payment slash net banking. So this time you're calling another REST service from the payment microservice. What you have to do in this case, point number one, do we need to create FinClient again? I mean, do we need to create FinClient? Answer is no. Why? We are already created. For payment microservice point of view, we are already created it. So that's why no need to create this time. So that means we are already have it. We are already have it. Now see how I'll show you the shortcut. How simple it is. Now onwards. We are already have it. So that means no need to create. Okay, cool. Then next step, what we understood earlier. Once you are done with FinClient, you will add microservice ID. Okay, here let me add this one also. Payment icon service something. So okay, this now we no need to do this. Why? We are already have it right now. We are already ready with our payment microservice point of view. Now create an abstract method inside the interface. Yes. So it's a this is the API call. Right now we are doing newly first for the first time. So if it is again payment options, you already have abstract method. Simply in any other service class level, you want it, simply you will auto wire it. You will auto wire it and you will call this method for this endpoint point of view. But right now my endpoint is what? Payment slash net banking. So do I have an abstract method for this? Means no. So that means what you have to do now? Create an abstract method inside interface. That method return type should be similar or compatible with response of API call. Okay, let's go back to the payment microservice code. What is the response type? String. Response type is string, right? So now what you have to do, create an abstract method. See, instead of all you're doing these things, I'll show you shortcut now. See here. So this is the endpoint you're calling, right? From the payment microservice. From the payment microservice, this is the endpoint you're calling from the order microservice, right? What I can say is copy first line of this one. This is what we will do. Copy first line of this one. This is abstract method, right? End with semicolon. Now what you need? You need a class called as netbanking info. Why? It's a request body, username, password point of view. It's a request body, right? Now this class, that means go to this class netbanking info, control C, go to order service, go to DTO class. See, as of now, I don't have anything. I copy pasted here. What I did, copy pasted. Now import that package, netbanking info, wherever you copied right now, right? So see here, now I imported the package. Done. Your FinClient is done. You just need to do copy paste only when you are doing that thing. See, this time what I did, I copy pasted the headline, the first line of the method from the payment microservice wherever I'm calling. See, simply I copy pasted. Earlier also I can do that. Simply copy paste in the FinClient. Now what I did, copy first line, including this post mapping and everything, and paste in the FinClient. Paste in the FinClient. And then if it is having already request body parameter, copy that class also. Copy that class also from payment microservice to order microservice. Copy. See, now I created. See, instead of you're creating or copy pasting, both are same, right? So now see, I made this class created. I made copy, but intention you can imagine as a created. So I created in order microservice. Now, see your fin client is ready now. Now call that REST service also. I'll do one thing, guys. Okay, let's do one thing. I'll create one more test endpoint here. What is that endpoint is net banking, like that, net banking. Create this method. Okay, it is created. Now see what you're doing. You're already have fin client already auto edit. Take it dot. What is this method you created right now? Net banking method. Inside that abstract method, you need to pass this request body object. So you already have. Okay, I think small spelling mistake is there. Let me correct it. Okay. So what is that object? Net banking info. So net banking info equal to new net banking info. So info dot. So I'm just passing dynamic dummy data. See this generally when you are using REST template also, if you want to call same thing via REST template, what you have to do? You have to create HTTP entity object. Okay, so first you need to collect URL. I'll show you that. So why are you doing all these things here? Don't do here. Okay, info dot set password. Delete 123. Info dot set user ID. Order microservice passing this information. Okay, to the this one. See, passing it, save it. Say why it is thrown. Okay, this is the string return type, right? The abstract method return type is string. That's why it is returning string only. So here also. So see here, now what's happening? You're calling net banking API from the payment microservice. Payment service. So what's happening now? You are making again fin client point of view net banking call. Let's call this one also. What I will do, get banking. So what is that endpoint? Test point of view we return net banking, right? Simply payment slash. Okay, not this one here. Net banking order slash net banking. Send it. What happened? Payment service internal server error. Fin client exception, fin exception not found. Payment service net banking. Okay. No, you have to add context path. We forgot to add context path. It's not a mistake. For context path of payment microservices slash payment, right? So context path should be every time. So we added context path here, but we forgot to add here. So save it. Is it restarted automatically? Yeah, it's getting restarted. Wait few seconds. So internal it will complete service registry also. So this time payment success. See what happened? You are sending request via order microservice to payment microservice, but this time making call via fin client of payment service. If you go to the payment service logs, see request for net banking payment. Okay, so payment success, payment success, payment success, payment success. So that means see the request reaching to where payment microservice from the order microservice. Now tell me which is easy. Which is REST template or fin clients means definitely fin client. So the fin client point of view, just you are creating an interface and you are just defining respective method prototypes from producer microservice level, whatever is there, you you can copy paste from there to here. Because when you are working in the microservices architecture for a project, you will have source code access of all your microservices, guys. Okay, so that means you can directly copy paste it. Now, for example, my requirement point of view, call order service from user service. So that means user is consumer. See how quickly I can do that right now. and producer is, in this case, order microservice. Okay, and which API I have to call here it is, go to the order microservice. For example, what I can do, can I call this one, order create? Yes, let me call this one. Via fin client, I will show you. So this is the API I would like to call now. So context path is /order/create. So this is the API I would like to call from user microservice. Now I'm going with the fin client approach. So that means where you have to do now. That means code changes will happen in the user microservice. So code changes are going to happen in the user microservice. So what you have to do now, create the fin client. For the first time, you are making order microservice API call from the user. So that's why you need a fin client. Same steps. Okay, let's go to the user microservice this time. See how simple it is now, you can understand. What I'm doing, step number one, go to create a fin client, nothing but an interface, create an interface, take some good package names. You can take anything, but package names of meaningful. I'm just giving meaningful package name. Okay, I'm just taking order service fin client interface. So why for the first time you are creating from the user point of view and fin client. So to represent it as a fin client, oh sorry, you have to add for the first time you are making, right? So we have to add what? The dependency also. This is one-time work. Adding dependency and adding annotation is the one-time work. Okay, get user microservice point of view, add it, save it, and go to main method class @enable fin clients. And then, yeah, now you can see the annotation here. That's why earlier you can't see that. Fin client, and what is the service ID, guys? Order hyphen service. So how can we get it? Make proper one from here, you can get it. Service registry point of view, order hyphen service. So what I have to do now, abstract method. Instead of I'm typing everything manually, okay, I have source code access of that API, right? So I'll go here, copy these lines, copy, and go to again fin client interface, end with semicolon because abstract method. Now what you need, order information, right? Go to the again order microservice, where you have DTO class, order microservice information, order information. Copy this, and then user microservice point of view, keep somewhere else, okay, wherever it is, just like create a DTO class or whatever it is. Okay, so and internally it needs product details also. So that means go back to the this one, and where you have product details, this one, right? Copy this. Okay, see, just copy paste. You have to manage with the copy paste point of view. Now see here, update the packages. What I did, I created a fin client. I copy pasted all the information from over there to here. That's all. My fin client is ready now. Now go to user controller point of view. Just I'll write an endpoint, test endpoint, public string create order point of view @post mapping /new/order. But in this case, what I'm doing is user service dot create order. Okay. So what I will do now in this service class, I will auto wire the fin client. Auto wire it. Auto wire. What is that fin client I created? Order microservice fin client, right? Yeah. So order service fin client name. From this, you are already created a method. Dot create order. So here, what object you have to pass? Order information object you have to pass. Order information new info equal to. Assume this you are passing dynamically, this data. Info dot set email ID, dilip@gmail.com, etc. You can set all the other properties. Okay, now see here, the call is going from user microservice to order microservice or not. That is what our agenda here it is. Right? So I'll do one thing, return type whatever comes from over there. I'll return same here also. Okay, so see here now, all my user microservices point of view, I'm restarting user microservice once again. Now be ready with your endpoint. What is that endpoint? User hyphen service and slash user is the context path. And you created what is the endpoint right now, slash new order. New order. So internally what it is making, it's calling this endpoint, and here you are calling via fin client. Go to the fin client. So here you give an order microservice, create, and then you are passing request body and everything. Internally, Spring Cloud API is establishing connection from user microservice to order microservice. Let's send the request now. User slash new order. Okay, this is expected because we created as post, right? Get, sorry, go to user controller, not this one. We created as post. Send the request. Fin client order service create. Oh, okay. Here also you have to, you forgot to add context path. When you're adding the fin client, right? So when you're copy pasting, please make sure added context path of that respective microservice. Otherwise, don't give context path for that respective microservice. Then automatically these things will work. But please remember adding context path if existed. Okay, now it will work because I added context path. See, this time order created, order reference number like that, you got 200. Okay, but actually this call going from where, guys? User microservice to order microservice. Now order microservice level, your logic is executed. Order microservice level, your logic is executed now. Okay, so order creation request. Let's see the logs printed or not. Yeah, you will see that logs, right? See here, order creation request for dilip@gmail.com. So that means what happened in this case? The API call happened from user microservice to order microservice via fin client. We implemented fin client. So this is how fin client is making very simple way of solution to enable microservices communication. So now it's up to our choice whether we will go for REST template or fin client. So I'll conclude by giving one point, just 1 minute. Then we are done with this topic also. So now overall point of view, which is it best solution, REST template or fin client? So I'll tell you one thing here. So definitely fin client is the best solution. Okay, when with respect to fin client point of view, it is the when it is better is the API communication in between your own microservices, Then fin client is better. But assume if I taken this architecture, assume tomorrow some reason from your Imagine application, you are calling some third-party application API. For example, assume Razorpay. Razorpay is a payment gateway application, one of some third-party application. Here some APIs are there. Now you have to call these APIs from your one of the microservice. Let's take payment microservice. From here, I would like to call this APIs. Now tell me in this case which you are going to use, fin client or REST template. So in this case, fin client is compatible. In this case, you have to go with REST template only. So that means you will get the full URL of those APIs and you will use only REST template. Why? Fin client, if you observe here, fin client working based on the service ID point of view. Service register is service ID point of view, but this is not your microservice. It's not your private microservice. See, these are all your microservices under single application as part of your application, your own microservices. The control everything under your. So you consolidated all these things via the service register application point of view. But this is a third party application. They will not show you source code. They will not give you source code. They will give simply a API document. That's all. They will say like, okay, so this is the API document. Just incorporate like that. They will just give API documents to us, but they will not give anything else to us, right? Then what you have to do? So then you will use REST template only. But now, in case payment microservice is calling some reason return microservice, then obviously fin client. Why? Because these two are intra services. Why? That means you are having everything under your control. You've managed all these microservices as a single application under your control. So that means these are all payment, return, all these services are connected to one service registry application. But here, this is a third party application. Third party application simply will give you the APIs. That means you can't use Fin client in this case. You can use only RestTemplate in this case. So that is how you can differentiate the difference between RestTemplate and Fin client when they're asking in interviews. So now understand one more point here. It is the most important point with respect to Fin clients. It's all about how it is working internally. So what's happening, guys, in this case? Now we made a call from user microservice to order microservice, right? So internally, what will happen with respect to Fin client's communication? Let's try to understand. So in this case, what we are doing here it is we are making call to the order microservice via Fin client, right? So now how it is working internally? How internally the Spring Cloud Fin client's concept reaching to the order microservice? Yes. So what it is doing is internally, whenever this line is getting triggered internally, right? So it will come to this interface and internally we designed it as a Fin client, right? So what it will do is it will take this order service ID and it will go to the service registry application and it will check order service microservice existed or not. With that ID, microservices instances existed or not. So right now, how many instances existed? Yes, we can see with respect to order service point of view, total 2 microservices instances existed. Right? So that means what Fin client point of view, whatever we given, this is the most important point here it is. So with this ID, internally what the library, Fin client library, what it is doing is, it is connecting with the service registry internally, and it is just cross-checking any instances existed with this service ID or not. Yes. How many existed, guys? Total 2 existed. And we know that already internally service registry application point of view, we have default load balancing. We have default load balancing. So that means now what will happen in this case? Yes, order services existed with 2 instances and it will find out less load instance by applying the load balancing formula. It will identify one of the less load instance and the request will be internally forwarded to respective instance either of these 2 instances. Either of one of the instance will be called based on the less load pointer. So that means what we are achieving, guys, by using Fin clients, right now we are achieving load balancing also. So that means in this case, when you want to use Fin client, you have to make sure all your microservices all your microservices as service discovery clients, and as well as you have to make sure all your instances are registered with the service registry application. Then internally Fin client is going to take all the communication based on this service ID and it will identify less load instance based on the service registry application point of view. This is one of the use case we can explain as part of our interview with respect to Fin client users as part of our microservices point of view. Yeah, let's see whether it is by default load balancing is happening in this case or not. So what I will do, if I go to the order microservice install console, I'll remove clearing the console, and second instance also I'm clearing the console. So now see here, I'm sending request from user microservice to order microservice. What happened? Order got created. First requirement. So now this came to which one? Order service application, first instance, right? Okay, now let me send the request second time. So if you observe here, now the request is not reached to the first instance. That means where it went, guys? It went to the second instance this time. So that means what's happening internally? Load balancing is also we are achieving with respect to Fin client, integration. So that's the reason we can suggest Fin client as part of our inter-services communication. But whenever you have external microservices like what we discussed previously, then you have to go for RestTemplate only. So this is the basic way we are going to enable communication between our microservices via RestTemplate as well as Fin clients. So this is all about when we are making API calls integration as part of our microservices. But sometimes we do have kind of Okay, asynchronous communication. So that means by using Fin client and as well as REST template, we are going to make only synchronous communication. Right? Synchronous communication. Synchronous communication means once the request is triggered, until that request is fulfilled, that means until getting response, you can't make one more request from the same client point of view, right? So that's what synchronous. But when I want to achieve asynchronous communication, so that means continuous. So I will just trigger the request. So the client will trigger the request and it will not wait for the response. It will not wait for the response. So that kind of scenarios generally we used to call as asynchronous communication, right? Yes. So that means in some of the real-time applications or most of the times in our microservices communication point of view, yeah, this is the first primary thing. Generally, most of the times we will go with synchronous point of view. Either we will use REST template or Fin client. But when you want to achieve asynchronous communication, what you have to do? But whenever I want to do continuous streaming, so whenever I want to make continuous communication, that means I can call it as continuous asynchronous communication point of view. I would like to select continuous streaming of requests to other microservice. Then what we have to? Yes, in this case, generally we are going to use like messaging brokers, especially like for example, you may hear something like Kafka, right? So yes, Kafka streaming, platform you are going to use as part of our microservices communication. So this asynchronous communication point of view, I'm going to make one more session. So right now, with respect to synchronous point of view, we can go with either REST template or Fin client, and this is the most of the times 70 to 80% of communication as part of your microservices. You will do always synchronous only, guys. But in couple of use cases only, we will go with the synchronous communication. But when you want to achieve continuous communication, nothing but whenever you want to stream the data from one microservice to another microservice point of view, continuously you want to push the data, and the other microservice, whenever it has to receive continuously the data, and that too in the asynchronous point of view, then you can go for messaging broker concept. So that, for example, we can take Kafka streaming, and I will make separate sessions with respect to these two asynchronous communication as part of microservices. So it's up to our choice what you will go for. So when you are having huge number of API communications with respect to inter microservices, I mean your own microservices point of view, definitely Fin client is the best option. Why? You are not creating every time URLs, REST template object and all. Tomorrow from the user microservice, you would like to call order microservice one more REST service. What is that? Something like info of order ID. What you are doing? Simply you are just taking this kind of information where it is. Go to Fin client again. Just the coding is very easy, right? So in this case, see here, done. Your integration is done. Now call this method from somewhere else. You will get order ID information. Done. So Fin client is very easy, right? Now call this abstract method. Automatically, everything internally, that Fin client functionality will take care. That's why it is called as declarative. Fin client is a declarative means simply you will declare it and you will leave it for the framework. So internally framework will take care of it. As a developer, you are not defining all these steps like in the REST template point of view, whatever you did, like create REST template object, pass response body, list.class, you did a lot of thing. But here you are not doing anything like that, right? So that is how you are achieving the microservices communication. So you are going to simplify the microservices communication via Fin clients. REST template we completed earlier, 3-4 sessions. Please refer if you don't have much knowledge, then come back and listen these sessions once again. Then you will understand very easily.